What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. Do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Now, October's been a little weird. We've pretty much had guests all month for the most part. So a little different this month. But before we jump into another tech talk with Alex, if you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like on a video. You can head over to skywatchusa.com. You can pick up all your favorite equipment from us. There's a bunch of stuff on sale. If you want to catch a mount right now, you can get a really good deal on that. And then what else is going on here? You can also buy from your favorite dealer. Go anywhere that you like. If you want to support the channel, you can head over to skywatcher.threadless.com and check out all the cool, fun shirts and swag that we have over there as well. So that's what's going on up there. All right. So without further ado, we're just going to jump right into it. If you have questions, this is the episode for it. Here is Alex. Boom. There's Alex. Let me switch this to full screen. Whoop. There we go. How's it going?
Good. Happy Friday.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention something. I have to hide you really quick.
Okay.
We do have our used equipment up as well. If you want to get a good deal on it, you can head over to deals on our website, and there's all kinds of fun stuff. I will let you know what's coming this week. There's 3 new things, I think, that are being added probably sometime today. So just an FYI. So, but anyway, let's head over to Alex. So how you doing this morning, Alex?
Good. Hey, it's Friday.
Yes, it is. So it is Friday,
coming.
October 17th. This year flew by. So
Absolutely. And it's starting to get dark at night. So
yes,
get your
finally.
equipment, get out. Yeah.
It's finally getting dark at a reasonable time.
And the temperature just dropped here in Arizona. So we are in observing time.
Yep. Yeah, I think the first fall star party is next week for the All Arizona Star Party. I think Alex is going to try to be there. I can't make it due to schedule, but there'll be a group out there if you guys want to go out and observe. It's a good time out there. We are giving away a 25th anniversary Virtuoso GTI as a door prize out there. So if you are going, go support the East Valley Astronomy Club. They're a good group out there. They'll take care of it. So,
yep. If you go buy a bunch of raffle tickets, it's all to help them with projects and their programs and things like that. They do a lot of outreach and stuff. So it's a really good group, and it's always a fun time when we're out there in the desert.
Yeah.
So bring a lot of 20s. They want you to buy those raffle tickets.
Yeah. All right, Alex. Anything floating around in tech support that we should probably touch on for people lately until we get some questions coming in?
Yeah, we've had a couple interesting ones. This week we actually had a mount come in, an EQ6R that was full of bugs. Couldn't figure out what the guiding issue was. Brought it in. One of our guys in the shop, Mark, poor guy, cleaned out all the bugs, got it running good, and got it back to the customer. So every time we deal with something unusual like that, but that was an interesting one.
Yeah, that is. I've actually had rocks in an EQ6R. A guy said it was jamming, and so we got it, and I opened it up when I was doing the repairs. And they were like pebbles.
Wow.
They weren't like little granules. So it's really interesting what something, I would say if you're going to leave your mount outside, make sure all the areas, like particularly the polar scope for an EQ6R, that's how things get up inside of there. Keep it capped once you're done doing your polar alignment.
Yeah, and on that note, just get yourself a good cover. I think Kevin and I both use like the Telegizmo 365s. Get yourself a good cover to protect yourself from any kind of weather. They also have a foil kind of inside, so when it condensates, it keeps it away from the mount and runs down and drips off. So they're good covers. But get yourself a good cover if you're going to keep it out. And yeah, let's keep all the bugs and moss and scorpions and rocks out of our mounts.
Yeah. 365 covers are the best covers I've used, but they are
an investment.
They are expensive. They were a couple $100 for a decent size cover. I think Alex and I probably have the same ones for the 6-inch, like a Spree's. They're $200-$300 covers, but they last forever, even out here in the heat. So,
yep.
There's
questions?
one thing
No?
That's come up, the Heliostar 76. There's been some people saying, "Oh, it's not evenly illuminated, and it looks good here, but it's bright over here." I'm probably gonna make a short video on how to use a Heliostar here soon. But for anybody who's watching, Heliostars and most dedicated solar telescopes are really unique instruments in comparison to like a nighttime telescope. There's a lot of filters that are going on in there, and they're all stacked in line with each other. So solar scopes produce a sweet spot. It's just the spot with the blocking filter where everything's just happy. And sometimes if you're imaging, you might make it look like banding or something where it's like bright in one end and nicely in tune. You might actually have to slew the disc off center and get it into your telescope sweet spot. All the solar scopes I've ever used, I don't know about Alex, but they're all unique. They all have like a fingerprint to them and a personality. Like Alex says with mounts, you have to learn your scope's personality and where it's happy. So
Give it a name. That'll help.
Yeah. But make sure your Heliostar has about 30 minutes to acclimate. The Etalon plates are made of quartz, so it takes time to acclimate. But also now we're getting into big differentials for temperature from going inside to outside. You need to give a scope time to acclimate, and a solar scope is going to be that way as well for best performance. And then don't be afraid to offset the sun's disk in the field of view, whether you're using a camera or visual. Find out where your happy spot is for the sweet spot in the scope. Then you can go off and do what you need to do. But that's come up this week as well. So
Yeah, and we've seen a couple simple solutions. Just centering the sun in the scope a lot of times will get rid of any banding on the edges. Another one, make sure the diagonal is all the way fully seated. If you have a little gap in the blocker diagonal, that's going to make everything soft. It's going to make it look off, and that's another issue you could deal with. Also, the pressure tuning set to where you can adjust it to where if you want a little bit stronger prominence or you want a little bit stronger surface, but there's going to be a sweet spot. So you got to kind of adjust it and give it a minute to adjust and heat up and stuff. And once that happens, you'll find that spot somewhere in that little dial. They're fantastic scopes. Yeah, we're seeing some great images from them.
But each one's unique. Mine will act a little bit differently than Alex's, and then ours will act a little bit differently than like the show sample ones we take out where they like to tune. It all depends on the altitude, and all kinds of variables will tell you where yours likes to be in tune. So you just have to work with it, and you have to figure out where your sweet spot is. Every single one of them has it. Even mine has a slight offset to it. You just work with it. It's not the end of the world. So
yeah, and I say the same thing with mounts. If you give the mount a name, you're going to start learning when it's grumpy, when it's not wanting to do something. Then we just got to figure out why it doesn't want to do it. I'm telling it, go this. It doesn't want to do that. So when I find something like that, usually in the field, I'll just shut everything down. And then I'll start my alignment process again. I make sure that my polar alignment's right, my star alignment's right, and whatever I need to get it up and running. But when you name it, you kind of connect to its personality and what it does. It's not just a mount anymore.
Yeah, and every scope, but particularly solar scopes, especially if it's your first one, there's some idiosyncrasies with H-alpha solar telescopes that you just have to learn. It's not that they're defective or wrong. They just have some unique things because there's a lot going on inside of it. It's not just like a lens or a mirror. There's a filter at the front, then there's a lens, then there's another lens, then there's an Etalon, then there's a lens, then you go back and there's another filter, then there's this really special mirror, and then there's another filter. So there's a lot of doohickeys running around inside of and that's pretty true with most of the solar telescopes. They're very complex optical systems in comparison to just a refractor.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask questions. We all started someplace. We all ask the same questions, so there's no dumb questions. We just want to get you out and observing, whether it's the sun or the stars or whatever your thing is.
Yeah. Speaking of mounts, actually, do you want to go over basic power rules for our mounts and just like roughly in general, because that's been a topic of discussion lately?
Yeah, I think this crowd's probably pretty well educated on it, but basically our mounts, our big mounts run stepper motors, our smaller mounts run servos. The servos are a little bit more forgiving with power, But usually about 12 volts, 2 amps will take care of the servo motors. When we get into the stepper motors, we want a nice strong band. The steppers like to run in a certain bandwidth. So really, if you're looking at like 12 or 13 volts at 4 amps or 5 amps, that's really the sweet spot on our bigger mounts. They want that power so that they can move larger scopes around. If you have a charger that says Circuit City on it, Sears, Radio Shack, it might be time to upgrade your power source. I see a lot of these older chargers, and the mounts sometimes run well on them and sometimes don't. If you get a new power source, there's a lot of good ones out there. If you're going in the field, I highly recommend the Celestron Lithium and Lithium Pro batteries.
Yes.
They're fantastic. They're solid performers, and they were designed by astronomers that are engineers specifically for telescopes.
Yeah, I use the Power Tank Lithiums for my mounts for my events. They just work, and I like that they just work. I know Alex has a few of them as well, so they're nice. But yeah, pay attention to what you're using. You spent a bunch of money on a mount. Make sure you don't cheap out on a power supply. If you have to spend $100 on a good power supply, then so be it. I mean, that's what it takes to run it. I use on an EQ8 anything basically, actually for everything from the Wave 100 up. I use the Celestron 5 amp AC adapter if I'm running AC, and then I am using Power Tank Lithium Pros in the field. Those are what I use. And if you need to, because I know some of ours use, I think it's like a CXV12 connector or whatever, it's an airplane connector is the power connector we use on like our bigger mounts with the 2 prongs and it threads on. Star Arizona makes a little adapter where it's that, and it has a female 2.1 insert on the other side. So if you want to use more readily available stuff and not the CSX or whatever the thing is for it, there's an adapter there. It doesn't cost too much, but I have that on my EQ8 because it makes it really easy to just plug in a 2.1 and go. So
yeah, and it's a great little adapter. I have one as well. I think I use it on my EQ6Rs where it is right now. But cables, guys, if you know what, I got a whole big box of cables because there's nothing more frustrating in the middle of the night. Your mount's not working, and you spend an hour on it trying to figure out what's wrong, and it turns out to be a cable. So I always order new cables. I've got new cables in the pack in a box that I keep with me because power cables, EQ mod cables, USB cables, they fail. But one night,
especially USB-Bs, the 2.0s, that big blocky connector that we have, it works great, but over time you get gunk and stuff, and that's why we like EQ mod cables when we're controlling a mount, because it's a serial connection that locks, where USBs get gunk in them really easy, and they're not made to bend and move all over the night.
So cables, power, these are all little things that we deal with every day in technical support. And there's nothing more frustrating than a customer that is like beating their brains in for 3 nights, and I'm trying to help them with all kinds of recommendations, and they get the new power supply. They're like, it works. It just works. I'm like, oh man, thank you. Thank you for getting a new power supply. I'm so happy you can get out under the stars.
Don't cheap out on the power supplies. Get a good one and don't hurt your mount. Tell us about the newest Spree EDXs, please. We have them. We have our samples in hand now.
There is information coming in the future.
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them because when they're ready, we'll show you guys and we'll do a whole episode on them. But there's going to be a 70 for the U.S. and Canada. For the North American market, it'll be a Spree 70 EDX, Spree 100 EDX, 120 EDX, and the 150 EDX. They use the same optics as the original Sprees, the 100 to the 150. The 70 is brand new from the ground up. It has an FCD 100 triplet objective, and it handles full frame really well. It's quite a nice little scope, but when we plan to see them, probably early next year, I would guess, because by the time we finish what we're doing, we take pictures and we cut a purchase order for it, and then it gets here you're looking probably after the new year. I don't have any idea what the pricing is going to look like right now, but I would expect to see them at NEAF. But don't hold that, as gospel just yet. But they're coming. They're really nice. The mechanics are improved. The rotators are very nice. The dew shields don't droop anymore.
That's what I was just going to get on. Yeah, the Sprees are beautiful telescopes. I mean, you can't. It's for a production telescope. You're not going to beat it. But they were getting kind of old, so we're doing some updates on them and kind of modernizing them. So I think you guys will be happy when you see them.
But yeah, they're coming. But when we've got everything together, we'll actually do the full episode on deep dive on them. So, do the totem patches now ship with stickers and pins? Love to see them show up. Straight from the people who shipped it. I put the new What's Up Webcast stickers in the last batch, along with 25th anniversaries pins that we still had left over. Once all those are gone, they're gone. So if you get something with your totem patch, those are just bonuses because we had fun stuff available. Let's see. These are all just comments. Oh, here's a question. I have an older Skywatcher Star Adventure. I'm using a power bank, but I'm still getting 2 flashing lights on and off repeatedly. Any recommendations?
The Star Adventure GTI, I'm assuming.
It says older, so I'm assuming it's like a standard Star Adventure.
Yeah, you're getting 2 flashes.
I'm going to pull up the user manual here real quick because it has a breakdown of what the flashing indicators say, and I don't remember. It's hard to keep track of all the little idiosyncrasies of every mount and what each little blink says, so at times we have to review.
Yeah, so on the newer mounts, on the newer small mounts, that flashing is actually a Wi-Fi broadcast. So if it's a newer mount with Wi-Fi built in, when you power up the mount, it's going to be flashing, unlike our big mounts. If our big mounts, you plug it in, turn on, and the light's flashing, that could be an issue. Usually they flash because of power on the big mounts, but on the smaller mounts, that flashing is absolutely normal. I know with anything with Bluetooth, and I think most of them with Wi-Fi. I have a GTI right there. I haven't turned on.
The old manual here. What usually happens with the blinking is it's a power issue. Now, on the Star Adventurers in particular, because I've seen this happen, especially one of the keys here is the fact that you're running a power bank. A lot of these power banks are great for charging devices, but Star Adventurers and a lot of these smaller mounts, when they're tracking, they pull very little power. And a lot of these batteries have an auto shut off where after whatever the period of time is, if there's not enough energy being pulled from the battery to preserve energy, it auto shuts off. So it's hard to say what's going on with the Star Adventure at the moment. If you still have the manual, I would refer to it. I just have a 2i manual in front of me at the very moment. But
shoot me an email on support@skywatcherusa.com and we can look into it a little bit more.
Yeah. We'll take a look into it further. My EQ5 mount has severe periodic error every 8 minutes, but it does not affect RA but DEC. And nobody knows why.
8 minutes. That sounds like
that's like a gear
cycle.
Yeah, there's a cycle. So I don't know if there's like a chipped tooth somewhere or there's some damage to a gear, but if it's
or there could be a bug in there.
Yeah, if it's periodic like that, you're almost to that point. You might actually be at that point where you're starting to see the gear cycle through, like Alex said. But if it's every 8 minutes and there's something going on in DEC, there could be a burr in the gear. There could be damage to the gear. There could, like Alex said, there could be a bug in it. You'd probably want to get that mount flushed out by somebody, have it inspected and checked out. Whoever does service in your local area. If you're here in the US, we've never sold the EQ5, like the bare bone EQ5. We could probably take a look at it, but there'd probably be some kind of fee to it. So, yeah, but that does sound like there's something going on in there, and I'd probably get the gears inspected.
Yeah. If you do if you print out your graph from your guiding, you can see and actually look at the times on there. And if it's like exact time at like every 8 minutes or every 7.5 minutes, it's probably something on the big gear.
Let's see. Oh, I'm getting lit up because I didn't talk about the comments. No, there's a stack
Oh.
of comments in here. That you have here. I'll just read them if I'm gonna get flack for it. You have my new Wave 150i in for repair. The smoke was released, and I plugged the 2.5 millimeter jack to get power into the deck panel. Sounds like something failed. Obviously, it's here. We'll get it fixed up or taken care of for you. So, I use a power conditioner for my EQ6R Pro. Probably not a terrible idea, just to make sure the power is really nice and
Yeah,
clean.
especially if you're running a big battery. I know there's people that run like really big batteries. You probably are going to lose some power in the transfer, but you're going to want to run it through something that'll reduce the amperage and give you a nice power band, something
Yeah.
regulated.
Where'd I leave off? Sorry, there's like a big collection. Oh, here we go. I have both a Star Adventure GTI and an HEQ5. I do not hook up any computers or tracking software, etc. So do I need to do any firmware updates asking for a friend? If it ain't broke, don't fix
Yeah,
it.
if the mount runs good, don't mess with it. I've done firmware updates, but usually it's because something weird's going on, and then I just put the new software on there. Or if like you're using a mount that you're running the app on, it's not quite connecting or it's doing something weird, update the firmware. That usually fixes the issue.
Yeah, for my like events that I do, I use an EQ8R for the big scopes and a Wave 150 for the smaller stuff. I don't even know what firmware it's on right now. All I know is I take it out, it runs fine. I haven't felt the need to keep it updated. Even the test mount that I have on a Pier, another EQ8RH, I actually don't know what firmware is loaded in it, but I put everything on, I plug it in, and it just runs. So if I need to and there's a hiccup or there's a bug or there's a new feature, then updating the firmware is probably definitely worth it. But again, if everything's smooth, just roll with it and
Yeah.
we're good. So sorry, that one actually had a question inside of it, but we did that one. We did the periodic error. I have seen 2.1 jack to USB-C. What's your thought on using a plugged into portable power bank instead of something like a jackery? I'm a little
maybe they're
confused
talking about a
on that
brick
one.
compared to a
Is this related to
power?
like the Star Adventure? Is this the same person with the Star Adventure? Let's see. It should work. With it, USB-C is just a good way for power to go through. I mean, you can power mounts with the USB-Cs, but I've seen a 2.1 to USB. We don't have anything in the lineup that runs off of USB-C, so I don't know that would do anything unless you're reversing it and you're going from C to 2.1 to power a mount.
I'm wondering the ALEQ55 has the USB-C. I wonder if that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, if you're using it the other way around, where like C is going into the power to 2.1, please be really careful that you know exactly how much power is going through it. Your mount needs to have the recommended power. That means the amperage needs to be about 12. I'm sorry, volts need to be about 12. Most of our mounts are between 2 and 5 amps.
Yeah.
You'll have to really see if your USB-C can handle that. But you want to be very careful with the batteries and how you're powering it, because there's a lot of crap batteries on the market out there.
We've
seen people fry them a lot.
And we saw a big influx right after like COVID. There was a bunch of counterfeit batteries out there as well, sold on Amazon. So
yeah.
If you got a battery that time zone, kind of an off brand, and you're having issues, just you got a hand controller, you can go in and check and see what the voltage is to the mount. But again, it might be time to upgrade your battery.
Yeah. So just pay attention to that. We just don't want you to damage your stuff and let the smoke out. So
Yeah.
Is the Spree EDX naming similar to Astrotech's naming? They just named their 90 millimeter refractor an AT90 EDX. Our EDX for the Sprees has nothing to do with Astrotech. So just to give you an insider on our naming conventions, anything in the Skywatcher lineup that has mechanical upgrades to it, whether it's the original scope or it's part of a line but features upgrades, gets a DX tag on it. So like the EvoStar 150 DX, I think was the first one we ever did that. We upgraded the focuser, the rings, but the optics were the same. The Evo Guide 50 DX is upgraded.
HEQ.
Yeah,
HEQ.
yeah. Alex has the HAC 125 DX.
Yeah.
So it has mechanical upgrades to it. Now the Esprees, it's an ED, so we just kind of played with it a bit. So EDX, because we just added an X onto ED. So it kind of gives you the DX and it gives you the ED kind of wrapped up in one. That was kind of the naming convention of it, but it had nothing to do with Astrotech. It just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah. I think these names were probably assigned to it like 2 years ago, though, during development. So it's just, it's not.
Yeah, we have to call
gonna
it
change.
something. Is it the Mark II? Is it whatever it is? Follow up on the EQ5 question. I took the EQ5 completely apart, cleaned it, and re-lubed it. Didn't help. Maybe a bent screw. You might have a bearing problem.
Yeah, that could be it too.
If the gears are okay, a bearing might have, especially if you have like a roller bearing. I haven't taken apart an EQ5. I've worked on HEQ5s. I think Alex has been in an HEQ5, but I don't know the inner workings off the top of my head of an EQ5, but it sounds like there might be something going on with a bearing. So maybe there's some debris in there. I'm not sure, but it's causing some kind of jump. That would be my guess. Without really diving into the thing, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's hard to, we're just going on what people tell us. So we're trying to make, put two and two together and come up with something that works.
Yeah. Why not use the GX plug anymore? They are so rugged and reliable. Oh, the GX is the big plug that we use on our larger mounts. Is that what it is? A GX12 connector? I can never remember.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Aircraft connector.
Oh, yeah. It's a GX. I thought there was another thing in there. But yeah, a GX12 connector is our power connector. I don't think I have a cable within arm's reach to show you guys, but they are big threaded things. On the big mounts, we use them. When there's enough space on the board, we use them. But on the smaller mounts, the boards get itty bitty. So
smaller plugs.
Let's see. I have a Wave 100i. Just curious, when setting up your rig for the night, what should you go by? The bubble level or on the Wave 100 or the tripod?
Yeah, so when I set up, I'll actually take a level and level the tripod. Then I'll put the head on and compare it to the bubble. And if the bubble's off a little bit, I just take a Sharpie and mark right where the center point is. Those are little cheap bubbles that are put in there. I wish they were completely accurate, but sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, and it could just be the way it's seated. So I actually will go two different angles with a bullet level on the tripod, make sure that that's level. Then I'll put the mount head on it, and I'll actually mark the spot that's perfectly level.
Yeah, the bubble levels are just there for reference, but I have seen some that it's like, what is going on? Some people I've also seen just use their own bubble level to put it on the mount. I usually go off of the bubble level that's on my mount head because it's sitting on the tripod. So
yeah, I've got a bubble level on that.
Oh, I see it.
100 back there for when I'm using it in Alt-Az.
Yeah, which is convenient because it's got a really nice flat
surface on top. So, and you can get those on Amazon. They're cheap. They come with a little sticker peel off. You put them on, you're all ready to go.
Yep. I don't see a current question at the moment. What else you got, Alex?
Guiding. we get a lot of questions about
Yeah.
guiding, which is great because it's good to see you guys are out there doing it, and so we know you're imaging and putting out good pictures. But remember, guiding's a tool. Your numbers might run higher one night than another night, and that doesn't mean your mount's underperforming. There's a lot of things that could be involved. Could just be the atmosphere. We talk about seeing. When the scene's crummy, your numbers are going to go up. I mean, they can double just from bad scene. So guiding's a tool, and we use it. And again, like if you understand your mount, if you know your mount, if your mount has a personality, that's going to help with the guiding. Sometimes, your mount might not like a certain area of the sky for some reason. Why? I don't know. I had a mount that was doing that for a little bit, and it was nothing to do with the mount. It just, for some reason, when I was at zenith with a specific telescope, it didn't care for it much.
Yeah.
So I just decided that target's going to be picked up early in the morning or later in the night. I'm just not going to go there with that scope.
Each mount has a personality. Even the big EQ8Rs have a personality. Some nights it's like, hey, it works great. Other nights it'll just, for no reason whatsoever, it just wants to be difficult. That's really rare on an EQ8R, but
and you have environmental things.
Yeah.
If you're near the ocean, you could have a marine layer that comes in, and you're like, why did I lose every picture after 11 o'clock? Well, the marine layer came in, and it was enough to just kind of mess up the atmosphere. You were still able to guide, but not very well, right?
Also, on auto guiding, because this comes up a lot, and I've talked to a lot of other vendors, and it comes up a lot. If you call in or you're looking for support, having guide logs available is really helpful, but also remember what your image scale of the telescope is, because we have a lot of people that will come and be like, my mount's not guiding at this sub-arc second rate, but my pictures look fine. Well, if your pictures look fine, that's all that matters. But a lot of people are like, well, I'm getting like 1 RMS, 1 arc second RMS on my guiding. Okay. Is there anything bad with your image? No. Okay. What's your image scale? And if you're running at like 2 arc seconds or whatever, it really doesn't matter. Like, also, be aware that there's a reason why there are really big, high-end, expensive mounts, and then there's a reason why there's more budget-friendly mounts. It's not that the quality sucks. It's just different tools for different things. Yeah.
And they have different, they run differently. When you get into higher end, you get into belt-driven. Some have encoders. Some can do much larger payloads.
Yeah.
But it's expensive to build the bigger mounts with all those things in them. So to get all that stuff in it, the cost goes up. And there's and so an EQ8 is going to basically track stars very smoothly for long periods of time, where a smaller mount might not be able to achieve that same level just because of the gearing, the way it works, the size, how heavy the mount is, the tripod, how heavy your rig is on it. So there's a lot of little variables that go into that.
Yeah. So seeing is going to be your big limiter always. So.
Right. And if you're in a city with a lot of city light and you have lousy seeing, your guiding number is going to go way up just because it's got to work harder. The mount's going to have to work harder to stay on that faint signal it's trying to keep on.
Yeah. I can answer this one. Any direct drive mounts in the making? Nothing I can tell you about at the moment. Any opinions on Astrotech in general? Are they Cinta as well? I've only used a couple Astrotechs. They're nice. They're not Cintas. I believe excuse me. I want to say they're Longpern.
Yeah, I don't know who.
I forgot the company. There's like 4 or 5 major manufacturers. I think they're Longperns, or I can't think of the other one right at the moment. They're not Guansheng. Guansheng is GSO. I can't remember the other brands. There's a couple that make refractors, but they're not Cinta. Skywatcher is the only Cinta refractors on the market. So, but from what I've seen, the Astrotechs look really nice and they perform really well. So, Wait, just purchased the EQ AL55i Pro. Do I need to polar align first before a 3-star alignment or reverse? I was not getting very accurate go-to when I first used it.
Yeah, polar align first, and 2-star alignment's probably just fine. That's all I ever do. I don't worry about a 3-star. Once the mount knows where it is, once it's aligned to the polar star, all it has to do is it needs to the 2 stars to match up. It's basically like plate solving in its brain to where your location is on Earth. Once it gets that figured out, it's just does its thing.
Yeah. Oh, Jinghua. Jinghua is the one that manufactures the... I think Jinghua actually does William Optics. Jesus, I can't think. Starfield up in Canada. And the Astrotex. And there's a handful of others out there, but Jinghua is the one that does it. So, what would you recommend for viewing a beginner? What would you recommend for viewing variable stars for a beginner?
Any of our mounts, the AZ GTI is a great little mount for viewing. We have some great, I think we still have some of the 25th anniversaries. That's a great little mount with a really powerful telescope if you want to look at comets or planets. We've got a lot of good stuff. Go to skywatcherusa.com and look. Some of the mounts that are packaged with scopes are really nice for starting. For variables, probably one of our matte Cassegrains, at least until these new refractors start to show up. But yeah, the Virtuoso GTI is kind of neat because it's got that 127 matte Cass, which would be a decent one to get started. There's the AZ GTI with the SkyMax 127. Those would probably be good beginner ones because they're going to give you some resolution and focal length to look at variables. Yeah, they're nice, powerful little scopes. So,
what? Why are the AL55 have problem with? I'm sorry, the question's a little weird. I'm assuming why does the EQ AL55 have like guiding issues? I know Trevor on Astro Backyard kind of pointed this out. Guiding tends to address some of that. But you have to remember these mounts are sub $1,000 mounts and the gears are small. So if you're using something small with it, it should work fine. Auto guiding will help with that. I'm sorry, I don't have more flushed out response to that.
Yeah, and it's a little lighter. And it's a little lighter mount. It's a little lighter tripod.
Dithering. Why does it have a problem with dithering? Not sure. I'd have to play more around with it. It also could just be a sample issue as well. So sorry, I had to put some things together on that one. Oh, here's one for you, Alex, like direct. So Alex, are you using ASI Air with your HAC? If so, what is your deck/guide RA aggression sweet spot number for guiding?
I find with the waves, they're very fast. So I'm usually running with my aggression. If the sky's good, I'll be running around 30, 35, up to 40% aggression. It just depends on the atmosphere and everything else. But the wave mounts are fast. They'll correct quick. So I'm doing like half-second exposures with low aggression. So it can move extremely quick, but it's doing it at a nice soft rate. If we do the aggression too high, the mounts can it almost seems like they start ping-ponging to get to the stuff. So drop the aggressions down on them. They should run really well.
I live near Torrance, California. There's a Skywatcher store. Do you recommend taking my tracker there to get looked at? That's our headquarters.
Yeah, we don't have a storefront there.
Yeah.
Send me an email and we'll get you labels and get it in if there's a problem.
We don't recommend you just show up at the office. A lot of people work remote and you might not have availability there. And also, you don't just want to walk in and drop something off. That's how stuff gets lost. So if you need to get something repaired even if it has to be a personal drop off, we've arranged that before. But we need to email support, talk to Alex, because that'll start a ticket number, and then we're able to track it and start the process better.
And if you're there and you need to drop it off for repair, we can have somebody meet you at there's basically a gate there, and they'll take the part from you, get all your information and stuff, and then we'll email back what's going on and stuff.
But just don't show up. Showing up causes a lot of problems, and then it's not documented, and then when our repair team works on it, we have a system in place to make sure things don't get lost, and we have all the information, so everyone that's handling your product has access to it. Dropping it off in person isn't a problem. We just have to work it out. So
yeah, and if you've ever been in an Alaska warehouse, it reminds me of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes,
when the warehouse at the end, it's like,
especially right now because it's prep for holidays.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a Discord channel? No, I guess we'll have to discuss that. This is our only avenue other than social media. This is our only major avenue at the moment, but I don't know a lot about Discord. I know people use it. We'll have to talk about that and look into it. So, by altitude of an object in the sky, do you mean thousands of light years?
What? I'm not sure.
Like how high it is in the sky. No, when we're referring to altitude, we're literally referring to how many degrees off the horizon the object is. So if its altitude is 25 degrees, it's 25 degrees off the horizon, is what you're looking at. Now your distance, that could be miles, kilometers, whatever you're measuring in, or we can go into light years for, that galaxy is 2.5 million light years away. So Andromeda, when it's rising, it's hey, Andromeda, the galaxy, is 2.5 million light years away from us. But the altitude from your observing location is 25 degrees or whatever it is in the sky. If you want to know more about that, go get Sky Safari, and you can just click on it and it'll tell you the altitude and all that for you. So, but yeah, there's how high it is in the sky, and then there's distance. So 2 different measurings.
And I think if you hold your hand out and do it's 25 degrees or something like that. So if you're star hopping
markers.
If you're star hopping and looking for something, Google it and you can find the different measurements with hands. And it gives you a general reference to position. So if you're looking 25 degrees off of a star for another star or something faint, those hand measurements help.
Yeah, that's a good way to locate things. Will there be a replacement line for the EvoLux series? Nothing at the moment. We have our new EvoStar EDXs. Those will be doublets, but there's no direct replacement for the EvoLux at the moment. Is the used Wave 150i in the Skywatcher store the original with the 2.5 jacks?
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't had my hands on that. They're all inspected. They get checked out to make sure everything's good to go. But I don't know what jack is on that one. The early ones had the 2.5 and they went back to 2.1s. I don't know why that was done, but it was done. This might be an ASI Air issue. You might know more about this one, Alex. But my EQ6R Pro set up with an 8-inch Edge HD. Every time I set it up for the night, I have to recalibrate my guide scope. Is there an issue with the mount or the software?
You're running it. Which size Edge HD?
8. It doesn't say if he's running Hyperstar, native F10, or reduced, but still. So.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a long telescope. We might look at how long your guider is and things like that. There could be issues with the ray shield in the focal ray shield. If you want to send me an email, I'm support@skywatcherusa.com. We can dive into it a little bit deeper and see what kind of equipment you're running and see if we can find an issue that pops up or anything that stands out.
Yeah.
That's really what we have to do is we kind of got to look through and see if there's something that's popping out or, creating an issue.
I recalibrate my guider every time I go out, unless I left it out. If the system stays outside and I don't touch it, I'll leave it there. But anytime, even on the permanent pier, Anytime I'm out testing, I recalibrate the guider just to eliminate any variables to it. So I would start there.
And if you're running something like an ASI Air, it's super easy. I have times where I go and it's not quite guiding as well after a meridian flip, and I'll just, run the recalibration on that side, and boom, everything's running great again.
Oh, he's running a 0.7 reducer and an OAG. So OAGs are great, but they're a little tricky because if you don't have a bright enough star, it freaks out. But they handle the flexure problem really, really well. I would recalibrate every time, especially if you're breaking the system down, flush out any variables, just start from scratch, nice and clean. So
yeah, it only takes a couple minutes to do, and
where was it? This is a two-parter. I have an EvoStar 80 ED, and I've replaced the focuser with a GSO focuser. The supports of the ZWO EAF autofocuser, any other focuser recommendations? The original focuser that's on there works fine with an EAF. We have a guide. You can email Alex of how to tune the original focuser if it's like slipping and stuff. Usually, a lot of people say they don't like the focusers on the Evo Stars, but once they get it dialed in, they're actually pretty good.
And they can carry about 5 pounds. So I mean, if you get it dialed in, they should be able to run smoothly and do everything you need it to do. One of the things about the EAF, I always tell people, make sure your focuser is running perfect before you put it on. Because if you put it on and it's not running perfect, you're gonna have issues. And then you're gonna be upset with the focuser, and it's not really the focuser's fault. Just make sure everything. Now, another thing you got to remember is our scopes. You're getting a performance focuser, so sometimes they need adjustment. Sometimes they need a little bit of a little tweak here and there. So
especially after shipping, they get. God knows what happens when they leave, so they get thrown all over the place. Or
sit in a hot garage all summer before you pull it out. And,
but once I've adjusted any EvoStar I've had, they work really well. They're really simplistic. So, but if you want to upgrade from a GSO, there's not a lot of options for focusers anymore. Like a visual that you can just slap like Moonlight would be a good one, but they only make motorized focusers now. They're not cheap. Feather Touch are the best focusers on the market. Not cheap.
It's gonna cost you,
and you have to motorize it. And then if you're just doing like imaging, then you open the door a little bit more. But be advised, they're not going to be cheap. You've got Prima Lucha Labs makes a lot of focuser options.
I think they just came out with a new one too.
Yeah. I know there's some others. Optec's got some nice stuff, but all these, it depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to keep it more visual where it's easy to make a motor, okay. Or do you want it to be like all imaging, just dedicated? You've got more options if you're going just dedicated motorized, but they're not cheap. But yeah.
And that's one thing with the focusers. Some of the focusers you can't manually focus once you have put that autofocuser on there. So I know ZWO, they have a little controller that you can use with the ASI Air if you're running their focuser. So you can roll it in and out. Now, there was another one that snapped in and out. That was the Optec, I think, that unlocks for manual use.
The Optecs are my favorite, but it depends on your focuser. So this is an Optec. This is their Quick Sync focusers. These are my absolute favorite because you can put these on a scope and you just rotate the housing here and it disengages the gears, and then you can use the manual focuser and they give you a fine focus. This goes on a really big 3.5-inch Feather Touch focuser. It's obviously not installed, but they make them for some of our focusers and they're really nice, but they're about $500. But I never have to dismount them. You just leave it there. You can still do the manual focusing, and then you can just engage it for that. And it's got like a 2.2 micron step size. But if you're running ASI Air, you're not in the ecosystem. So you'd have to use like Nina or something else to motorize, to control that focuser. So
no.
If you are just starting out, what would be a good telescope to invest in, and where would I locate on the web?
What do you want to look at? Are you looking at stars? Are you looking at Messier targets? Are you looking at planets? So there's a couple things to consider because we want to get you the right kind of power so you can see what you're looking at.
Do you want to take pictures?
Yeah,
That's a big one. I would let
that
you
is a
know
big
in
one.
advance. If you're like, well, I want to do imaging.
Big
If you want to
wormhole.
do imaging, that's a way deeper wormhole. But if you have any questions, you can always call Alex or email support, and we'll answer that question. We'd be happy to answer that. It just kind of depends on what you want to do, because we'd rather get you to the place that's going to best suit your goal rather than, because if it's just like, I'm just starting out.
Okay.
Virtuoso GTI, Heritage series from us, a Daub would be
Dob.
great. If you want
Yeah.
to do like imaging, you've got Sea Stars, you have Origin, you have ASI Air equipment. There's a lot of options out there. So if you want to email us and let us know, hey, I'm new, I want to get started. Here's what I'd like to end up doing. We could point you all different kinds of directions there because we'd like to make sure that you've got for planets, that's easier. So
Yeah.
a Mac or a refractor, Virtuoso GTI, something with some focal length. If you need something that's got some more aperture, the Celestron Nexstar SE, like the 6 or 8, are awesome. But yeah, something like that. So.
Yeah. And you can always give me a call if you want to talk about it. 310-803-5953. Hit the 2 button for technical support, or I'm at extension 290. I'm always here. They call me always here, Alex. And if I'm on another call, just leave a message and we will get back to you for sure.
Can you guys share the totem images that people submit for each month, or just a few? I can look at doing that again. It just adds more frames to things, but we can look at doing that again. So. Will Skywatcher ever again design a mount that has the genius of an AZ EQ6 Pro? We made the wave mounts. I mean, they do Altaz and equatorial just like the AZ EQ6.
Yeah, and the 100's nice. You can actually adjust the secondary if you're running 2 telescopes. It's got a nice little adjustment on there, so you can put them together. Which is nice because if you're, say, doing solar, you might want a more powerful, like a cork or something on the prominences, and then like the heliostar on the other side, so you get the full, view. But you can adjust them. You can fine tune the two so they're synced, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. I just saw this post on Cloudy Nights regarding the new updated EvoStar EDXs. Is the 100 ED actually becoming an F7? Yes, the EvoStar EDX 100 is F7. The F9 has been phased out and is discontinued. So if you want one of those original EvoStar F9s, you're going to have to go find them on the used market or get them while you can. But yeah, the F9's not in production anymore, so they've moved to F7s. Why is the Spree 70 so slow? It's about F7. The goal here was for full frame and well corrected. I know there's a lot of scopes out there that are faster than that, like F6 or even F5. How wide of a view do you want? And with a 70 at F7, I think you're still at like 490 millimeter focal length. That's still pretty short. And when you're talking full frame, that's a big chunk of sky. So at some point, is there really a need to go super duper fast and make it more expensive? Or do you slow it down, make it a little bit easier to produce and a little bit better corrected on the edges? And then, it just looks good. So I don't know why the engineers ultimately decided F7. We did test one at F6.5 as well, but F7 was what was decided from the engineering team. And if it works really well.
Yeah, and if you want to go faster, you can always put something like a Star Arizona Apex S in that one. Fantastic correctors, reducers, and it's going to speed it up and give you a little wider field.
But I mean, if you're using an Spree 70, I think if I have all this right, you're at a full frame, you're at 4.2 by 8-degree field of view. That's a pretty big chunk of sky. So, the Spree 80 was f5 at 400 millimeters, but it didn't support full frame. The image circle was 33 millimeters, which means you could do crop sensors. Yes. You couldn't do full frame on the 80, which is why the 70 exists. The 70 exists to allow a smaller version of the Spree line to be full frame. So, does the dual saddle Wave 100 have the same weight capacity on both sides?
You can run 22 pounds on both sides if you have it matched up.
You just want to make sure it's balanced on that.
Yeah.
If you're really putting that much weight on it, though, you're probably going to get some vibration issues when you're talking about that much payload on it.
Right. My guess is people are going to run two like 10-pound, 2 15-pounders on there, and you know, you're talking about a big scope when you're talking about 22 pounds.
Yeah, and a friend of mine, I just helped him build this rig. It's a Wave 100i on a steel tripod. He has a 8-inch Edge HD on the main saddle, and then an EvoStar 82 on the secondary. That's a great combo right there, and it's actually really rigid for what it is. So it's handles it remarkably well. Question. Oh wow, we have 4 minutes left. That was quick. On the topic of mounts, will anyone ever come up with a collapsible Dob mount that doesn't take up half my truck bed? It's doable. It just, you know, it's how the scope is designed. So
yeah,
our bases are big. Those particle board bases are big. They take up a lot of real estate. Could they be shaved down? Probably, but we'll see. I don't know of any new generation of stuff coming out for the Dobbs at the moment. So
yeah, I want to say my Dobbs probably like 10 years old or older, and I redid the base side, so I made them a little bit smaller. I made them out of pine, so it's quite a bit lighter than the original stand. But you know, something like that you could always do. I did use the original round, so it's just as wide as it always is, but it's about half the weight now with the pine.
Yeah. Follow up on the Spree 80. I'm doing full frame on the Spree 80 for 10 years. You can use full frame on an Spree 80. It's going to vignette. You can correct that with flats. There's no reason you can't use it. It's really not ideal in comparison to the 100, 120, 150, which have 40 and 43 millimeter image circles.
And now the 70 will be there as well.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? I don't see anything else. Alex, you got anything before we shut this went by really quick. So
no, you know, it's blue out there, so get your equipment packed up, get out to a dark sky tomorrow or tonight.
2 comets. So.
Yeah, get out somewhere really dark tonight and get yourself some comets. Orion's coming up early. I've seen Orion now at like midnight, so you can get on those targets pretty quick. A lot of good stuff out there right now, and we're going to be dark the next 2 weekends. So get your equipment, get out.
Yep.
We want you out there. We want you using your stuff. We want you under the stars. If you have an issue, give us a call. We'll get you running so you can get back out under.
Will the Evo, I'm sorry, there is some typos in this one. Will the EvoStar ED100 suffer at F7 versus F9? They're both really sharp. F9, it's a little tighter, I guess. You shouldn't see any problems with them. I've been testing the 100 F7s for about a year now. They're pretty nice. I think Alex, you got the prototype now, don't you? Yeah. They're pretty sharp.
Good looking.
There's not much to worry about with the F7. Color's really well handled. It's still FPL 53 glass, so it's well corrected stuff. So, Will Young's heading out to El Dorado Star Party tomorrow. Have fun.
Hey, Will.
Don't talk bad about my beloved Spree 80. Wasn't talking bad, just talking facts. So,
we love the 80.
Let's see. You guys should get Starfront on for a Totem episode. We'll talk about that one. All right. I think that's all. I don't see any more questions, but that was a lot of really good questions and comments.
A lot of great
thanks
questions.
for watching, guys. Alex, thanks for hanging out this
morning.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
And if you guys need anything, just email us at support@skywatchusa.com. Real quick, for the used equipment, it's going to be going up here shortly. We need to get it kind of ironed out. There will be a FlexTube Go to 16-inch going up on the used. There's an Spree 120 that's going to be going up on the used page. And I think there's an EQA RH in there as well. So if you're looking for some really high-end big stuff, there's some cool stuff that'll be coming on the page. Just keep an eye out for it, but maybe in the next day or so. But all right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, leave a like, subscribe, go over to skywatcher.threadless.com to pick up some cool swag. Other than that, have a great weekend. Clear skies, and we'll see you guys next Friday. Take it easy. Bye.
Clear skies, guys.